I am so happy that you're able to join us for this extended interview. Make sure to visit theoffbeatlife.com. Again, that's theoffbeatlife.com to get more killer resources. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this extended interview with Lia, where she's going to share how to use your humor and personality to build a dedicated following. Hey Lia!
Hey, I'm so excited.
Why does it matter to build this persona for your brand?
It's really important for me, especially, to use humor and personality to stand out from the crowd, because especially travel blogging is a very, very saturated industry. There's a zillion people out there that are writing about the places that they're visiting, taking beautiful pictures, doing a killer job, and just slaying it. And it's hard to stand out. It's really, really hard, especially when you're all like visiting the same places and you want that one shot on Instagram. Like, what's going to make your Instagram picture stand out from everybody else's? So using your personality and especially your voice and your sense of humor is going to really make you stand out from the crowd. It's also going to build a really loyal relationship. So what I always try to do with my readers is I want them to feel, when they're reading my blog, like they're talking to a friend. I want them to feel like either they know me or they want to know me. And if they want to know me, I want them to read 1,000 of my posts and go into a stalking hole and find me on Instagram and find me on Facebook and look at all my pictures. And I want them to feel like we know each other a little bit. And developing that relationship and creating that sense of we get each other and like we have a vibe, it creates kind of a sense of loyalty and trust. And without loyalty and trust, you can have as many followers as you want, but you're not going to actually make a difference with them. They're going to look at your picture and move on. When you have an engaged, loyal, trusting audience, they're going to listen to you. They're going to pay attention to what you're saying. And that is so, so, so incredibly valuable for a lot of ways. One of which is just like making me feel good about myself. That's a big, important one. I have like my followers every day being like, hey, you're funny. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Like I needed that every day.
Now, how can this actually make you money for your brand?
So having a really loyal and trusting and engaged audience makes them more willing to buy the things that you recommend, which, you know, I say that and it can sound very callous. I think that if you do have that loyal and trusting audience, you really need to hold their trust and place it at the utmost importance, right? So just because you have a loyal, trusting audience doesn't mean that you should sell them absolutely everything. But if they trust what you say and you are doing right by them, they will listen to you and they will go to the places that you recommend and they will buy the products that you recommend them to buy. And I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I can see that my readers are literally clicking through and purchasing the items that I tell them to because they feel like they can trust me. I don't write about things that I haven't personally experienced. I don't write about things that I don't personally believe in. And because I'm so like no bullshit and they feel like they can really trust my opinions, it makes them so much more willing to actually book the places that I say to book or buy the jeans that I'm super obsessed with or whatever. And that really does impact your bottom line in a huge way. Having a small but very engaged and trusting loyal audience is going to earn you so much more money and be so much more effective than having a giant audience that doesn't particularly trust you.
For someone who is just starting out, how can they translate their personality into their content?
So I think a lot of people have this idea that when you write, especially when you're writing a lot of information for a blog post, they were kind of taught in school to write in a very professional sounding way, like they're writing an essay. You have to throw all that out the window. You're not trying to write an essay here. You're trying to type on a Facebook message to your best friend, but with actual grammar. You want to sound like you're speaking, and that is really hard to do. I would definitely practice it and, you know, maybe like just take the pressure off of yourself to sound professional. Instead of trying to sound professional, try to sound how you would explain it to your best friend. Sort of just picture, you know, whether it's your ideal reader or just like a friend that you give travel advice to, picture them in your head and just write like you're talking to them. And what I like to do is I like to write my posts out first, get all the information out there, and then after I've got everything that I want to say, all the details, all that like really, really in-depth information that I'm always conveying to my readers, then I go back in and I make it funny. And that's that's when I go back in and I add jokes and I change things around and I add little insider tips and maybe I add a GIF or two. And once it's finished, it should be so interesting that even somebody that's not planning on going to the destination that I'm writing about, they should actually be entertained while reading it. And that's always my goal. I'm basically writing for my best friend who is reading it out of support for me, but will never actually go to the places that I'm saying because she doesn't care, right? She's just reading it because she's mildly curious about what I'm doing and she thinks it's cool. I want to make her laugh and smile, even though she doesn't care about the 10 best places to go in Copenhagen in the winter or whatever it is. So have that person in mind and be talking to them and go back and edit. Like, don't be afraid to edit yourself and make yourself sound funnier. I'm way funnier in writing than I am actually talking. Like, I wish I could go back and edit things that I said. Like, as soon as I put this mic down, I'm going to be like, oh man, I should have had that joke, like that one point. Can I edit that in post? And you can when you're a blogger. You can just go back and change it, and nobody will know that you didn't actually come up with that until like 3 hours later, which is great.
That's the best thing about editing, is you can go back and redo it again. Lia, you grew your blog really quickly. In a span of 2 years, it's where it is now, and you were able to leave your job and you're making really good money from it. How does that play into what you're doing as a persona? How are you able to do that?
I really think that for me, having my personality and my sense of humor driving everything that I'm doing and sort of being like the thing that sets me apart, that's really what I'm resting my success on, right? Like, I'm not hot enough to just take pretty Instagram pictures. Like, let's just be honest. It's fine. Like, I have a great personality, but it's my strong suit. I identified a strength in myself, and I identified something that other people liked about me. Like, if you ask my friends about me, they're like, oh, she's the funny one. She's also like the know-it-all, right? So with those two things combined, I'm just a blogger that is a total know-it-all and has like all these in-depth opinions, but also can present it in a way that is entertaining and funny. And when you're trying to digest a lot of in-depth information, you kind of need that humor to break it up a little bit. It didn't come naturally for me at first. Like, when I first started writing, I had that mentality that I needed to sound professional and serious, and I wanted people to take me seriously. I didn't want them to think that I didn't know what I was talking about because I was cracking jokes. But what started happening is I would have a story that I wanted to tell, and it wasn't about disseminating information. It was just about telling a story. I think the first one, I was in Colombia. There's these mud baths in a volcano outside of Cartagena, and everybody was like, oh, mud baths in a volcano, it's like a spa experience, and it sounds really cool. And then we got there, and it was fucking disgusting. It was literally like a mud puddle in a giant anthill, and there was a naked baby in it with nothing on. It just hit me like, you can't clean a mud puddle in a volcano. There's no chlorine in this. There was like an oil slick on it. Anyway, I got real freaked out, and that was disgusting, but my husband really enjoyed it, and they wanted to write a blog post basically just like giving my perspective, which was ew, 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 everything is gross, get this off of me, versus my husband's opinion, which was just like, it's fine, stop freaking out. So I wrote this post, and it was a story. It wasn't an information post. Nobody's ever gonna Google it. Nobody's ever gonna, wonder what my experience was or whatever. But I wrote it, and I got a good reaction. People were like, that was really funny. I don't wanna go there. I'm not interested in going there, but I liked reading your story. Like, write more of that. And after that, I was like, yeah, maybe sometimes I'll just do funny stories. And luckily for me, I have a lot of ridiculous, catastrophic travel failures to write about. It just happens all the time. Every week I'm writing each of these posts. So I have 4 posts in a month. So one is going to be like for SEO or like really informative, like 10 things to do in whatever that people are going to find on Google. Then I'm going to write one that's going to be for money, for a sponsor. And then I committed to doing one that was more of just a personal post. So something about myself, just a story about Jeremy and I, something funny, something just about a personality, things that nobody would ever Google, but that would build this relationship with our followers. And by committing to sharing something personal every single month in like a giant full-length blog post, I developed that voice, and I developed that ability to be funny and humorous and that personality, and that built that relationship with my readers, which now I rely on to pay my bills, which is great. Thanks, readers.
I love how you were able to balance all of that and create all of these things for yourself. Now, Lia, if our listeners want to know more about you, where can they find you?
You can find me at my website. My blog is called Practical Wanderlust. If you are an aspiring blogger, I've also got a social media resource site called Slaying Social. It's slayingsocial.com. Also, please follow me on Instagram. I've heard that my stories are funny. I hope they are. I'm trying really hard to make them funny. My Instagram is at Practical Wanderlust, so hope to see you there.
Thank you so much, Lia. I had such a great time with you, and it's amazing to finally meet you, and you are definitely funny. Check out her stories. Thanks, Lia.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this extended interview with Lia. Make sure to visit theoffbeatlife.com. Again, that's theoffbeatlife.com to get the full interview with Lia, where she shares how to appreciate the imperfect moments of travel. Thanks for joining me on this extended interview. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. We can also chat some more on Facebook at The OB Life. I'll talk to you soon.